Good morning, everybody. I'm Don Stewart, and welcome to another week of breaking news. Today is Monday, the 28th day of July, 2025. Now, while Israel yesterday, as we saw, has declared certain zones in Gaza off limits for fighting during the daylight hours, they continue to insist they are not backpedaling from their goals of the total destruction of Hamas and making Gaza a safe zone against future attacks. And that's good news. Well, here's the latest after this wild day yesterday. First of all, the Jerusalem Post, U.S. considers a deal for all the hostages, the end of the war, sources tell Post. Again, good luck on that. Senator Lindsey Graham has said it right. He sees World War II-like finish for Hamas. This is from NBC News here in America. And then this story, not surprising at all. Starved Gaza child suffers from a genetic illness as in and is in Italy. This is from Israel National News. There was one child from Gaza whose picture made the headlines worldwide, showing how the mean, horrible Israelis are starving them. And here's an example of this. This poor kid, is just skin and bones. Well, it turns out that he has a genetic illness. He's in Italy getting treatment, has nothing to do with lack of food or lack of nourishment from the Israelis. But this is typical for what the world does and what Hamas does and the such like. The Netherlands, listen to this, lists Israel as a threatening state actor, along with Iran, Russia, and Turkey. Those three nations sound familiar. We'll talk about where they come in the last days Bible prophecies from the Jerusalem Post. And Turkey, speaking of Turkey, they unveiled their first indigenous bunker buster and super bomb. They're not stopping. This is from Israel Hayom, and we'll talk about their goals in the future and how it fits with last days Bible prophecy. So, as we begin a new week, we see all these things taking place, setting the stage for what the scripture says is going to happen in the last days before the second coming of Jesus Christ, and of course, the many events it predicts to precede it. For those of you who are new, and we get a lot of new people here every day, we have a free a website with all free material on it called Educating Our World, 12 books on Bible prophecy. We have 65 books in total on 11 different biblical subjects, and we want you to know what we believe as Christians, why we believe it, and how to live it, and plus what's going on here in the last days. We go thoroughly through the major topics there, so please take advantage of it. Everything is free. Educating Our World under the heading of Bible prophecy. All right, let's get to the headlines. Headline number one, U.S. considers deal for all the hostages, the end of the war. Sources tell the Jerusalem Post. Donald Trump underscored the importance of securing the release of the hostages held by Hamas in Gaza, adding that he did not know what would happen. After the deadlock of negotiations for a partial hostage deal, which would have seen 10 hostages released in exchange for a 60-day ceasefire, both Jerusalem and Washington are reassessing their approach. Several members of the Trump administration believe the time may be right to propose a comprehensive deal that would bring about the release of all the hostages and an end to the war, a person familiar with the matter told the Jerusalem Post. It is clear to everyone that a comprehensive deal is significantly harder to get both sides to agree on, the source said. At the same time, officials in Jerusalem are reportedly considering issuing an ultimatum to Hamas, agree to the deal or face the consequences. Now, both those things are true. They can't even get a 60-day ceasefire. Another one of those. Hamas keeps moving the goalposts, keeps demanding things, demanding that Israel leave Gaza, demanding they remain in control, demanding this and demanding that. And so to get some type of comprehensive peace, that cannot happen until Hamas has been further neutralized, as it were. And so, yeah, that we'd love to see that take place. That's the goal everybody wants, but right now it's not feasible, particularly with the events in the last few days and the such like. Now, negotiations, we're told, continue behind the scenes. This is almost laughable. Behind the scenes contact have continued over the past 2 days among Israel, the mediators, Egypt and Qatar, and Hamas in an effort to restart the negotiations. U.S. President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff has met several times over that time with senior Qatari officials on the island of Sardinia in Italy. Although the negotiating team has returned to Israel, it remains in constant contact with the mediators, an official told the Post. On Sunday, Trump said the time has come to bring the hostages home. There are 20 living hostages and the remains of others. There are many parents who want their loved ones' remains returned, he said in a conversation with reporters in Scotland. Israel will have to make a decision. I know what I would do, but I'm not sure I should say it. Well, he has said before what he would do. He'd use all force necessary, firepower, to get rid of Hamas once and for all in Gaza. And Senator Lindsey Graham follows that up with yesterday with NBC News on Meet the Press saying something very similar. This is our second headline. He says he sees a World War II-like finish for Hamas. With Hamas balking at peace, Israel ought to finish the job in Gaza, akin to how the U.S. finished Nazi Germany and the Japanese Axis power in World War II, according to Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina. There is no future for the Palestinian people as long as Hamas is around, he told NBC News Meet the Press yesterday, Sunday. So all I can say is that what you're going to see, I think, in the next days and weeks, a military effort to destroy Hamas, akin to what we did in Tokyo and Berlin to destroy the Nazis and the Japanese. While Graham expressed hope that the remaining Hamas terrorists held hostages will return to Israel, the terrorists need to lay down their arms or die, says as President Trump warned on Friday. I think there are people maybe in the Hamas organization that would accept safe passage if they release the hostages, he told Kristen Welker on NBC on Meet the Press. He said, if I were Israel, I'd make that offer to the Hamas fighters. You can leave safety. We want our hostages back. But he says, and this is so true, Israel cannot continue to see its soldiers die in a Hamas drawn out war at the mere hope hostages as well as human shields by terrorists make it home alive. But here's the problem Israel has, and it's so true. They're losing soldiers, 4 and 5 a week, he added. I hope and pray the hostages will come back. Hamas could end this tomorrow by laying down their weapons and releasing the hostages. Ultimately, as the humanitarian aid gets rushed to Gaza under the nonstop threat of Hamas terrorists just stealing it, there needs to be a change in strategy in Gaza to end the war. And here's some good news, Graham says, for the people in Gaza. Humanitarian corridors are now going to be open. Israel is going to work with the UN, the World Food Program, to get some food into these people who need it. But I think what the topic we're talking about today is a change of strategy. I think President Trump has come to believe, and I've certainly come to believe, there's no way you're going to negotiate an end to the war with Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization who was chartered to destroy the state of Israel. They're religious Nazis. They hold Israeli hostages, and I think Israel has come to conclude that they can't achieve a goal of ending the war with Hamas that would be satisfactory to the safety of Israel. Wow, he really hit the proverbial nail right on the head. Finish the job, Israel. You've got to do that. That's your only hope. You can't keep dragging this out. You can't keep going for negotiations, ceasefire here, short ceasefire there. Let's get the job done. Now, along this line, where we have all these countries crying out about the starved Gazan kids, this and that, get this next story. This is from Israel National News. Starved Gaza child suffers from genetic illness and is in Italy. Kogat has confirmed that the photos of a starved Gaza child are fake news. The child suffers from an unrelated genetic illness and was evacuated from Gaza to receive medical treatment in Italy. A photo of 5-year-old Osama al-Rakab has gone viral, used to falsely depict Israel's responsible for his condition, claiming that Israel is starving children. However, al-Rakab has not been starved by Israel. The coordinator of government activities in the territories, that's what COGAT stands for, C-O-G-A-T, reported. In reality, al-Rakab suffers from a genetic illness unrelated to the war, which is responsible for his condition, and left Gaza with his mother and brother and is now being treated in Italy. So the facts. Osama suffers from a serious genetic illness unrelated to war, Kogat tweeted. On June 12th, we actively coordinated Osama's exit from Gaza with his mother and brother through the Ramon airport. He is now receiving treatment in Italy. Kogat stressed tragic images rightfully stir strong emotions, but when they're misused to fuel hatred and lies, they do more harm than good. Don't let compassion be exploited for propaganda. Check the facts before parroting blame. Well, I can't emphasize that enough. When I was in Lebanon in 1982, I saw it firsthand when the Operation Peace for Galilee was taking place. There in Beirut. We went to Beirut for a day, and that was quite an interesting episode when getting shot at your van and that. But bottom line was what we found out is that the stories we would read in the New York Times and other periodicals were just the opposite of what was going on when you see it firsthand. And Israel was getting the blame for everything. And again, it was the PLO at that time, Yasser Arafat and his gang, that were the ones causing all the problems and doing all the fake propaganda. And we had story after story after story. And it really opened my eyes to everything. I was back in the early 80s, so it's been, kind of obvious ever since that when you see stories like this about the starving children, this and that, it's fake news. It's not Israel doing this. In this case, it's Hamas. doing the same thing. But that doesn't seem to make any difference. We heard today Keir Starmer of the UK has joined the bandwagon of blaming Israel for the starvation there, the hunger that's there in Gaza. And these countries are just something else. They don't, for whatever reason, and part of it, of course, is anti-Semitism. But there's also another reason here we have to bring up, and that is UK's got the problem, as does France, as does Germany, with all the migrants, quote unquote, that have come in that are causing lots of problem and upsetting the country. Very much the natural beauty and the natural resources and the natural flow of the societies there. And it's happened hugely in Germany and France and, of course, in the UK. So we're not surprised that the leaders now basically are cowering to these people because they can cause tremendous problems. So that's why they want to be seen publicly as being pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel. That's not the only reason, but that's one of the ones that's front and center. All right, speaking of this, now this is an interesting headline, number 4. The Netherlands list Israel as threatening state actor alongside Iran, Russia, and Turkey. All right, so what we have here now, the Netherlands, this is strange coming from them. This story is from Israel National News, I think it is. No, Jerusalem Post. The Jerusalem Post gave this story. The Netherlands now basically are listing Iran, Russia, and Turkey and Israel as threatening state actors. The National Coordinator for Terrorism and Security, NCTV report released on July 17th, lists Israel as one of the countries that aims to control public opinion and political decision making. It's just the opposite. Israel really didn't have any PR campaigns at all. They've got the worst going, and they're always, a day late, a dollar short whenever something major happens. Rather than getting out in front of it, they have to respond. And, perception's reality. The story reaches the entire world that Israel did this, Israel did that, when they did nothing of the sort, but they're not very good at responding to that. Anyway, a dramatic report from the Netherlands signals a shift in Dutch policy, with its intelligence agency identifying Israel as a threat to the international legal order. Now, notice the three nations that are mentioned here that are supposed threats to the world: Russia, Iran, and Turkey. Where have we read these names before? Well, yeah, we know from scripture in the last days. This is amazing. Ezekiel 38:39, this last day's invasion will be led by Russia, with Iran and Turkey as their proxies coming in and invading Israel. You really can't make this stuff up, can you? So Iran, Turkey, and Russia are first and foremost, and they are problematic. We'll talk about that a little more in a minute. But then again, Israel is put in the same category as them. Again, their goals are just the opposite. But this is what takes place in our world. All right. So if you want a comprehensive understanding of what's going on here, see our book, 25 Signs. We're near the end, signs 9 through 11, where we talk about what's going to happen. This Ezekiel 38:39 invasion, who the players are, who's going to sit it out, who's going to be invaded, etc. It's a free download from our website, Educating Our World, under the heading of Bible Prophecy. And we also have a more thorough book called the Ezekiel 38:39 Invasion, where we go verse by verse through chapters 33 through 39 and talk about what Scripture says literally. There's so many different issues there about this coming invasion in the future. Again, they're free downloads. All our material is free. We don't charge for anything. This is our ministry, so please take advantage of it. We thank you for your prayers and support too. All right, now speaking of Turkey, our last headline today, this one's fascinating. Turkey unveils first indigenous bunker buster and super bomb. This is from their website, Israel Hayom. Turkey's defense industry debuts first indigenous bunker buster with a 7-meter concrete penetration. That's what, 7 meters over, a little over a yard. So about, wow, 7 meters would be, what, big, long. Anyway, 7 meters, how many feet? 25, 30 feet, something like that. Excuse my math there. But anyway, they showcased it nearly with a 1-ton super bomb. Turkey unveiled 2 new domestically developed bombs on Sunday, significantly upgrading the capabilities of its Air Force, which is undergoing a sweeping modernization and rearmament effort. Now remember, Turkey's a member of NATO, and Turkey had been in the past a great friend of Israel until Erdogan, this new leader, took over. At the International Defense Industry Fair 2025 in Istanbul, Turkey's military defense industry introduced the Gazap, Gazap, the most powerful conventional air-to-surface bomb it has produced to date. developed by the Research and Development Center of the Turkey Defense Ministry. The Gaza disperses 10.16 fragmentation explosions per meter, surpassing the previous record of 3 explosions for any bomb in service of the Turkish Air Force. That's quite a difference, government officials said. According to the agency, the bomb's explosive effect makes it highly destructive, and it could be dropped from an F-16 fighter jet. And remember, the U.S. has been selling Turkey some of these jets. The official noted that the R&D center redesigned the explosive and filling components, adding that the certification testing process have been completed and the bomb is ready for operational use. Now, see, Turkey is a threat, and they will remain a threat because we know they're going to be a major player in the last days, along with Iran and Russia, as we've talked about all the time, because each of them have goals beyond their borders. Turkey wants to relive the glory days of the Ottoman Empire, where for 400 years they were in charge of tremendous swaths of land in Europe and Asia, the Middle East. The Ottoman Empire, from 1517 to 1917, 400 years ruled and reigned that part of the world. Iran, of course, sees themselves as the world leader with the Shia Islam of destroying the big Satan, the U.S., the little Satan, Israel, and having Islamic rule, according to Shia Islam, in the entire world. So they see themselves as the world leaders. Turkey wants to relive the glory days, and of course, Putin in Russia sees himself not as a communist leader, but as like the old time czars that ruled Russia and expanded territory there too. So these 3 countries together have the same goals in mind, and Israel is going to be in their crosshairs. We know that in the future. Hadn't happened yet. The stage is still being set. There's still a lot of work to be done, but we're moving in that direction. But we are amazed how everything is falling into place, aren't we? There is never a dull moment here, so stay tuned. Much more to come. I'm Don Stewart again. Thanks for watching. And until next time, as always, may the Lord richly, richly bless.